Hi there, welcome back. This is Casey and I am continuing on with an iris reading. We just completed the left iris and now we are on the right. So in the left eye, in the eyes, they are, the features are bilateral for the most part. So we're going to see signs of the different brain zones, the throat and the thyroid, the adrenals, the kidneys, all of those are going to show up, the lungs, the arms and the legs, all of those are going to show up in both irises. The left iris is different from the right in that it does show the markings for the heart, and then the right iris is different from the left in that you can see the pancreas and the liver and the gallbladder. Okay, so we will be taking a look at those features along with whatever else we see in this iris. So in the left iris, we did see some signs of challenges with nutrient absorption, an absorption ring or a malabsorption ring, and the same is true in the iris, in the right iris. It's not into any kind of degenerative level, so if you get a really dark ring around the pupil, then you're looking at the likelihood of gastritis or pretty strong inflammation and inflammatory condition within the stomach lining. This one is fairly mild, but it is a bit exaggerated in this area right in here, which is the area of the, let's see, well, it's the stomach, but the small intestine is just outside of that. So I want to look, I'll make sure that we cover, well, let's just go ahead and do it now. So what is this area? So you can see this line right in here. It's dark around the whole entire pupil, but it is more defined right in that area. And this marking right in here, this little line, is the pituitary gland. So I'm just looking at what anatomy and physiology or might be related to this specific area of the stomach itself. So the pituitary did show up in the left iris as well, and it's showing up in this one. And just overall, let's see, this and right in here, so next to the pituitary would be the pineal. So we have pituitary and pineal both showing up in the right iris. And as well, a little bit of tension in the eye itself, so the right eye. Okay, and we did see some signs of cholesterol. I'm seeing that in this eye as well. Some glistening down in the lower section in here. I'm also seeing a skin ring in this iris. I'm also seeing some signs of a sluggish liver just based on the yellowing in the sclera, so just outside the periphery of the iris. And it seems to me, although there are nerve rings in both eyes, I feel like they are slightly more defined or even numerous in the right eye, especially in this area. So with nerve rings, we're looking at tension within the nervous system, and specifically the autonomic nervous system. And we're looking at what areas, so all through here. I'm not going to highlight them because there may be some things that come up that I would like to touch on. So just the nerve rings over here are also over here. So all this is a nerve ring. So we're looking at a nerve ring up here in the head and brain area. We're looking at what areas they pass through, and also if you're looking at nerve rings and you're able to discern where they stop and start, that is also of significance. Okay, so we have this challenge with nutrient absorption, and it just sort of caught my attention, this little area right in here, and then that is reflecting some tension going on in the pituitary and the pineal. Okay, so let's get into what specific, we have one specific, yeah, all of this is pituitary, but you can see this radii solaris right here. If you're watching this and you're learning about iridology, this probably is one of the first things that you saw in this iris, and this is straight up 12 o'clock, and then we have a straight down 6 o'clock. So this is the vitality center up in here, the animation life. It has to do with the crown chakra. It is the highest electrically charged center brain zone in the body. It's also the highest vibrational energy center in the body. And like I said, it's found straight up 12 o'clock. And it has to do, this area of the brain is responsible for sorting messages from senses and determining the importance of those messages. So it has to do with how well we are receiving life force energy directly from source. Vitality and excitement, energy for life are represented here. This is where spirit enters and union with our higher self is evident. This brain zone also relates to the will and impulses that create our destiny. And on a physical level, this can have some connection with how much energy we have, how much joy, love, vitality, energy, enjoyment, optimism that is available to us. So this does seem to be in a subacute to chronic state, this vitality brain zone. So that is here. And it's a radii solaris, so the radii solaris are the markings that come from either directly from the stomach area. They often emanate right from the edge of the pupil or the pupillary margin, like this one does, and this one does also. So those are related to the health of the stomach lining. And any level of toxins or toxicity that may be found there is being radiated. Radii solaris is literally solar rays. So you have this toxicity being radiated from the digestive system throughout the body. And in this case, it is affecting the vitality center, animation life, as well as a pretty well-defined radii solaris down through the thigh, knee, and foot. And the thigh, knee, and foot showed up in the left eye as well, although it seemed to be in a more acute state, so in a state where you would be feeling it more. In the chronic levels or the subacute, generally speaking, we've gone deeper into the imbalance, and the symptoms may not be as evident, but if you've been tracking your symptoms, you can often find, you can see how your symptoms go from an acute to subacute to chronic level. Okay, so in the thigh, knee, foot, it's pretty well defined and even down into there. And there's also a nerve ring passing through the thigh, knee, foot area. And then again, there's the skin ring is darker at the bottom of both of the irises, so more into a subacute to chronic level. Okay, let's see what else we see here. Okay, this area is the medulla, and it did show up in the left iris, so that is of importance when you see something showing up twice. I'm saying that although it's not as well defined, I'm seeing it come from the stomach. Okay, so that's the medulla. I discussed that in the left iris. The brain zone of the medulla is a very important brain zone. It is related to the health of the heart, also related to functions like swallowing, hiccuping, sneezing, and coughing, and is involved in many sensory motor functions. Okay, so, and again, the mastoid is making itself known as well. It did in the left iris. So there could be some tension going on in the mastoid. Is that it's the mastoid process, so it's the bone that you feel behind your ear, and it can be involved in headaches. It usually indicates there can be some tension in the muscles in the neck. It's also indicated or shows up when people have temporal mandibular disorder, so or TMJ. So it could be connected to the jaw as well, and even sometimes clenching of the teeth, grinding of the teeth can be related to the mastoid. Okay, and then so we're seeing pretty much the features we're seeing are reflected bilateral. There was tension in the neck on in the left side as well. So here we're seeing the neck again, and then let's see if we also see stuff going on in the thyroid. Okay, so just below the neck in this area, we have this little tiny marking right here is the bronchia, and that I don't think I mentioned it in the left iris, but there was a little bit of tension in the bronchia in the left iris as well. And just this whole entire area is the chest and the lung area. So this would be the pleura, the lung pleura. And this looks pretty healthy. Like I mentioned in the last reading, this is a pretty healthy eye. Strong constitution. Yes, we have some nerve rings and some things going on in the glands, tiny foot, possibly liver. Some potential for care in the heart area, as mentioned in the left iris video, but overall this is a pretty healthy looking iris from my perspective. But a great amount of nerve rings, and really more so in this section over here where the lungs, the chest lungs are. Okay, so as you can see, we have a flash in pretty much over the liver area, but I can see that there is something going on in the gallbladder. So gallbladder being here, and then liver being below that. I can see, even with the flash there, that there aren't any radii Solaris or big lacuna or discoloration or anything in the liver itself. So although we did see signs, and you know, the true brown iris is prone to more liver stress, and we do see signs of stagnation in the liver from this portion of the sclera, I'm not seeing anything inherently weak in the liver itself as reflected in this iris. yes, the gallbladder. And so if you see something going on in the gallbladder, chances are the liver does have some stress going on, but I'm not seeing any genetic weakness in that liver area. It looks pretty clean. Now, there's a nerve ring, and I can see it better because I've kind of played with the lighting in the photos, so I'm seeing it a little bit better on my other screen, but there's a nerve ring that goes right through it. So there is a little bit of added potential imbalance and stress in the liver, just indicated by this nerve ring. Okay, this area in here is the diaphragm, and let me see if I can locate the diaphragm and then the ovary. So this would be the right ovary down in here. I'm not going to circle it, but there could be a bit of a genetic pass in that ovary area. And okay, so the pancreas looks fairly healthy. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this thigh knee foot is significant, and there's also some tension in the hip just lateral to the thigh knee foot. I'm making a note of it because the hip showed up strongly in the left iris. It's not showing up as strongly in the right, but there is a connection between the hip and the thigh knee foot. All right, so moving on, let's take a look at the kidney. Again, you know, we're not seeing anything big going on in the kidney. We did see a marking in the left adrenal. I'm not seeing a marking in the right adrenal gland, but this area just really similar to the left iris. It's almost like you can see just based on the shading that this is the kidney and adrenal area. But there aren't any genetic weaknesses in this area. And again, you can check the health of the potential health of your kidneys by seeing how well you are filtering, by checking your urine. Okay, so this, let's see. Again, more in the bronchus area, so the air passages, a little bit of a genetic weakness in that area. And let's take a look. The thyroid looks to be pretty strong on this side of the body. I'm not seeing any markings. I did see markings more in the left side for the throat, thyroid, parathyroid, and tonsils. In the right eye, it would be located in this area in here. And as you can see, yes, there's a nerve ring going right through that area. But other than that, there aren't any radii Solaris or markings in the throat or thyroid area. So that looks to be pretty clean, pretty healthy. Maybe just a slight marking in the tonsil area right in here, but not a lot really. It's just something that sort of caught my eye, and then it came up on my other screen. So all right, let me just make sure. So this area in here, I did say that the pancreas looks pretty healthy. There's just a little bit going on in this pancreas area. So the pancreas being the organ that secretes the alkaline enzymes into the into the last part of the stomach as it's emptying into the small intestine. So when you have, I mean, there's just a little bit going on in this pancreas. So there could be some, especially with the malabsorption, there could be some slight discomfort or stress going on in the digestive system. So just a little bit going on in the pancreas, but nothing too extreme. So this would be the pancreas area right in here. And then, as I mentioned, this would be the diaphragm and then the ovary also. Okay, so yeah, overall good, strong genetics. We do have some things we can be working on. Here are the nerve rings, more outlined. A bit of lymphatic congestion, a bit of cholesterol showing up, a skin ring showing up in both irises, pituitary showing up in both irises and pineal in the right iris, medulla and mastoid and neck showing up in both irises, some tension in the scapula and the back area, more on the left side. So there's actually in this back area there is a nerve ring running through, so there could be some tension in the back and scapula on the right as well. But it made itself more obvious from my perspective in the left iris. Okay, I think that's it, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and until next time, take care, guys. Bye.